mean, you said something that I want to hit on. You said it was a learning curve going from organics to iron oxides. And I see that on the Girlz Inc. board all the time. On the Girlz Inc. board, we got about 10,000 people. I welcome everybody. I don't care what pigment line you use. We just want to mentor and whatnot. But we don't allow like the promoting of other lines because it, kind of technically an LI board, but lots of people are on there. But I see that a lot. I was using organics or I was using, Fibra or Permablend. I switched LI and I'm struggling. It's I'm struggling to get to, and what is it? What was the learning curve for you? And I don't understand the learning curve because I've been using both for so many years. So what is the struggle and the big difference and the big learning curve that artists are experiencing when they go from an organic like Permablend to aqua iron oxide?
So I can answer that. So we had been told in the various groups that a iron oxide would need to be implanted more saturated than a organic, like Permablend or like loaded. So we were told that you have to oversaturate like the LI aqua colors to get the same kind of healed tone so that they were supposed to look a lot darker when they left versus what you would be used to seeing if you were doing them with like LI loaded or a Permablend or something like that in the organics. And so I was oversaturating a lot of my clients, and then they would come back very, very, very saturated because LI is very saturated. Like the colors are very true when they heal. I was also told that you didn't have to like worry about adding any warmth to it, and I was like, in some cases that is very, very true. I can use a lot of the colors straight up and it heals very true. But like in those ruddy clients, those sun damaged clients, it's not so much using the exact perfect color. The first time it's using like a warmer color off the bat for me.
Right.
So it was a little bit of color and it was a little bit of how saturated I was doing it that I was learning how to reuse my pigments.
Right. Yeah, no. And I've heard that too. I've had people screenshot things that are being said on other boards and they'll send them to me and like, is this true? And I'm like, no, it's so not true. And it's so frustrating because there's a lot of crap and myths and untruths being told about iron oxides. And a lot of these myths are being told by, people that, for somehow, some way make a living off organics. I mean, sometimes it goes back to that. Or it's
like
just,
they don't want to trying to save face in front of their would-be students kind of thing.
Exactly. But, LI pigments, the iron oxide line, Aqua. So I would say about 7 years ago, there you go. Yeah.
My baby.
Yeah, and this is a line that's been out 31 years.
31
years.
Amazing.
Yes. And so over those 31 years, I mean, it is not the same line it was today, 31 years ago, of course. It's not the same line today that it was 6 years ago. 6 years ago, when everybody started working, light-handed, tattooing shallow, using single needle, hardly saturating, going shallow in the skin, this whole trend that is still very trendy today.
Very popular, yep.
Aqua wasn't performing as well because it just wasn't. And all of a sudden, we got over the whole warm thing, fixed that, and then we see Aqua's just not healing as well. So we upped the pigment load. So it is super duper highly pigmented. It is as strong as any organic on the market, including loaded. Yeah. It's just an organic. An iron oxide. So the difference is Aqua's iron oxide is just as strong as loaded. It's just as strong as Permablend or any organic on the line. We made darn sure of that. But the difference is it heals more muted.
Yes.
It's not as vivid or bold in tone, but it saturates just as easily and just as quickly and just as much. So,
Exactly. And so that was also part of my learning curve. Since I was oversaturating it, I learned to pull back a little bit from that full, like it almost looked like a sticker kind of look. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that was too much. And I sort of like pulled back. I started using single needles with my LI aqua, and I was like, oh, I'm having very similar healed results to my perma blend and my other organic kind of situations. And I was like, oh, I really like the way this looks, and I feel confident that I'm not going to have these people come back to me in 3 years with this mess kind of situation.
Yeah.
So I did learn how to use the inorganics with a single needle, and how to do that kind of like, the Russian style brow with the single needle, and it's like real
Yeah.
diffuse and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's a beautiful
so
style. Well, I heard on a
mhm.
board a few weeks ago that you can't create pixels with an iron oxide. And I'm like,
Okay.
where? I know, that's what I'm like. I'm like, okay, I need a fucking drink. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm like,
A tattoo is
where?
a tattoo is a tattoo.
I know. I'm
It's a
like,
tattoo.
where do people get? What do you mean? And this girl, she owns one of the boards, and she has a few
Mm.
thousand people on there, and I'm like, what do you mean? I wanted to like private message her so bad, but I just rant in the office, and I get all frustrated in the office. And I'm like, it's just like so not true. I mean,
Mhm.
there's and right here in my own studio, like Michonne and I started, we use single needle. We get the most beautiful pixels, and a few people did go on there and post pictures, and or like, that's not true. This was
Mhm.
Li's classic brown and beautiful
Mhm.
pixels, and she even posted a healed result. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so I just think there's just been a lot of misinformation, and I think a lot of this misinformation comes when some of these new organic, because because fact is, before like um, these organics hit the scene a few years ago, the industry was primarily iron oxide, right?
Mhm.
Organics weren't popular. And then organics hit the scene, and they became very, very popular. But that's when a lot of the myths and the untruths
Mhm.
started, getting put out there. That iron oxide's this, iron oxide's that, and blah 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 blah. And some of those untruths, I mean, they're still here today. We're still battling them. They're still
Mhm.
circulating in some of these groups. But like yourself, I come across artists, I mean, multiple weekly, that are emailing us, DM us, and they're discovering what you're discovering is, yes, I still love organics on certain skin types and certain situations. I'm going to use them here and there, but wow, what a whole new world with iron oxides, and everything I heard about them are not true.
Yes. 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 And once that opened up, I was like, oh, finally, for my clients, I can finally give them the thing that I've been like hoping and praying in my mind was real for them, that it was just going to fade to a softer, lighter version of itself,
Yeah.
that it's not going to turn purple or a weird color on them. And now I can say, like, I know what these colors look like long term, because we have a lot of results, a lot of healed result photos and proof, I guess,
Yeah.
which I love. And we just don't see that with all of the newer, like organic lines that, like just the new colors that get added on. And I'm just like, I just don't see I just need to see long-term healed results. And I can see it with the Li Aqua and the other lines that have a lot of photos of healed work.
Yeah.
So I love having versatility.
Yeah, I think that's key. Anybody that knows me or follows me know that that's like my mantra. It's like
Mhm.
versatility and efficiency. Those are the two things that really would describe me, as an artist. Is, I'm super versatile. I use both organics,
Mhm.
iron oxides. I have such a deep appreciation for both,
Mhm.
and efficiency. Being
Yes.
super efficient in your work, and choosing the right pigment, the right needle, the right everything for that particular client. And the formula for one client is not going to be the ideal formula for
Mhm.
the client, the very next client. You know what I mean? Sometimes we have to change things up from client to client to client.
Very
And
true.
And that's not being taught and talked about enough in our industry. Everybody's like just grabbing a single needle and grabbing, a particular, bottle or color or brand, and, and just, and that's all they use, same technique, same needle, same, for type of pigment, for every single client. And boy, they're really missing out.
Yeah, I understand.
I think.
I agree with that.
I think.